Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to a Time for Truth show. And today we're going to have a very interesting show on clean energy sources from a very honored engineer and very involved in innovating and putting together what we need to move into the future. So engineer, if you put on his photos, I want to introduce our audience to our guest today, Dr. Hector M. Guevara. And please put his pictures up on the screen. And I will describe this man who is the leading renewable energy scientist and global business leader with over 40 years of experience. He was awarded winner of the 1979 U.S. White House Renewable Energy Competition, this resulting in his placement of his thermal solar system in the White House. He received grants from NASA, the United Nations, UNICEF, and the U.S. Department of Energy to conduct advanced energy production research demonstration projects. Hector developed a broad range of distinguished renewable energy systems and transit rail technologies for Amtrak, Newark International Airport, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And he designed and supplied the first industrial process solar heating system for Mitsubishi. He is a patent and co-patent holder in various sustainable energy and propulsion technologies and established his New Energy Technologies Group in Florida with a strong commitment to humanitarianism. He offers aid solutions through clean water production, access to electricity, energy-saving housing, waste-to-energy management, sustainable community development, and existing and exciting models of energy farming. These technologies simultaneously yield new and clean energy, restore environmental, and revitalize people. The doctor has a deep appreciation for his Cuban heritage, inspired by his revolutionary legend, the grandfather, great-grandfather actually, Francisco Vicente Aguilera, who fought as a Cuban freedom fighter for independence from Spain in the 1800s. Dr. Guevara left a promising career as a musician to pursue his love of mathematics and engineering, and he holds engineering and management degrees from the University of Maryland, State University of New York, and a PhD in mechanical engineering and thermodynamics from the University of Shaftesbury, and has an advanced degree program from his beloved Cuba from the University of Havana. Dr. Guevara sits on the board of directors and is honorary director of the Tesla Scientific Foundation. And he's a noted international speaker. His New Energy Technologies Corporation is a provider of diversified world-class renewable energy via solar, lighting, wind, biomass, hydropower, geothermal, and also sustainable food production. He can be reached at dguevara at newenergytech.com. And I want to welcome to our show Dr. Hector Guevara. Bienvenido, Hector.
Muchas gracias. Gracias por la presentación en la cual me siento sumamente orgulloso de que me hayas puesto tan elevadamente en esta posición, ¿no? Gracias.
De nada, la verdad es la verdad. Y tú sabes qué, vamos a hacer esto, vamos a hablar en inglés, por si acaso algunos no entienden español, and because you have so much to share. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is about your Cuban heritage, and because it's amazing what I was reading.
Very well. Well, as you mentioned, I am the great-grandson of one of the most famous and beloved patriots of Cuba. His name was Francisco Vicente Aguilera. And I believe I send you a copy of $100 bill of Cuban currency. That is his image, which is on that $100 bill. You know, Francisco, he was called Pancho by his friends, especially by Jose Marti, who was near and dear to him. They went to the University of Havana together for a number of years. And actually, when they needed to obtain funds for our fight for freedom from Spain, he was made general of our revolutionary forces for Cuba. And he was here in the United States, where he went and lived in New York, besides having also been here in Florida, in Tampa. I get a special thrill out of the fact that the place where he was is what today is the Tampa Scientology org, because the friends that they had was the founder of that cigar factory that used to be there, which today is, as I said, the Tampa org. When you go to the Tampa org, as you're going up the front steps, you actually see that there's a bust in memory of Jose Marti and Cuba, and there's a little park across the street also. The soil for the plants that are in that little park there in Tampa was actually brought from Cuba. So, yes, I have basically a legacy to fulfill, which my mother would say to me every once in a while: you have to study, you have to prepare yourself, because you have a great responsibility to your fellow Cuban sisters and brothers in what you need to bring back. What you need to bring back to Cuba. And that's what I've been doing. All of the scientific developments that I have and sustainable technologies, my goal, my aspiration, my intention is to one day, hopefully, to be able to provide those systems, which I've been actually constructing and putting in various different other countries in the world, especially in Latin America, Mexico right now, in a place called a city which has a funny name, Chihuahua, in the region of Juarez. We're building there a sustainable city. 3,000 low and middle income homes will be going in there. We're doing a similar project in Bolivia. We're doing another project similar to that one with about 3,000 homes also in Ecuador, in a city called Pedernales, which regrettably, in the terrible earthquake that we had in 2016, that city was practically completely destroyed. So we're helping to build that back up again. And the hospital that's going in there, which will have 235 beds, the energy for the power for that hospital will come from our TEG panels. TEG stands for thermal electric generator. I'm a mechanical engineer, and my field of study is in thermal dynamics. That's what I specialized in. The hospital there in Pedernales will basically obtain its energy from our sustainable system, thereby not having a need to utilize diesel fuel, which now is being outlawed in many different places. And I'm very grateful for that, because as a number of the individuals watching this video may know, diesel fuel is terrible because of the toxic elements that it produces, and which it then shares into our environment, and it's something that we don't want to have.
Absolutely.
Quite the
You know,
contrary.
Hector, what I was reading, all of the different inventions and patents and technologies that you have and that you formulated. So let me ask you a question. Does your company deal basically in all facets of energy production? And what basically are you planning to do in terms of a corporation to get out this clean energy that you're talking about, which is very important for our world?
Well, I wouldn't say all facets. Sustainable, mostly the production of energy and clean, potable water. Those are our two main lines that we're focused on. With
Uh-huh.
regards to energy, I'm a follower, as you originally stated, with regards to Tesla. You know, Nikola Tesla had an idea, and he worked on this for the last 10 years of his life. He passed away in 1943. But
Mhm.
the last 10 years of his life, he tried to set up a system that would produce electricity and actually distribute that electricity without the use of any cables. That it would be a wireless power, just like we have wireless communications, Wi-Fi today, that we would basically have something similar with regards to power. And that's what I also spent quite a number of years at the university out in Long Island that I was associated with, and the laboratory there, which is Brookhaven National Laboratory, where I worked for a number of years in developing this. So to answer your question, we are, in fact, focused on developing our power system to do the distribution of power in our solar city. The first solar city that we're doing will be in Nevada,
Mhm.
just about 1 hour west of Las Vegas, Batum. And there we will have quite a number of basically, again, low to middle income, and also some high, high level and expensive structures that'll be going in there also.
Very
But
interesting. You know,
they'll
Hector, I
all,
wanted to ask you a question because I
sure.
saw that you deal with propulsion and you deal with the rail. So I'm curious, is your company doing anything with the solar in terms of automobiles?
Not so much automobiles, but trains.
I see.
I got quite involved with trains because of what happened. Basically, when Ronald Reagan became president, the program that Jimmy Carter had put in for HUD, Housing Urban Development Corporation, our federal government, he basically stopped that program, which was providing the funding and the grants for people to put in to their homes solar domestic hot water systems. And so that stopped. And when that stopped, it actually threw quite a damper regarding the growth of our solar energy system. And the economy basically took a spin-off into other areas, and of course having a family, growing in in New York, actually in New Jersey, which is where I was in Englewood. I had to find another, means for survival, and so I started working with the Transit Authority, with Amtrak, and with Brookhaven. I developed basically some systems that we deployed into our train. So today, for instance, if you get on our high-speed train system that we have from the Acela high-speed train that goes between New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, that was my company that developed and produced the main control systems for the Acela trains. If you go to New Jersey and you are going by air to Newark International Airport and you ride on the light rail system, the power for that light rail system is something that, again, my company built under a contract that we had. So I've worked for the past 20, 30, or 30 years quite a lot with a Canadian company named Bombardier, which a lot of people know, and Alstom Transportation. We basically utilize the French high-speed rail system, Alstom, in order to copy that system. One of the nicest things that in learning about that is that I actually had to go to France, and I worked there for about a month at the plant that Alstom had, where they built those systems, so that I could learn their processes and procedures and everything, and bring those back to Long Island, New York, where we constructed the main systems for our high-speed rail systems. And so again, Ben, a lot of our transportation systems in the United States and a few in Canada have been based on some of the technologies which my company actually constructed.
It's amazing because you're such cutting edge, and you're bringing out these innovative ways which really lead to the future. To me, it's great that you're using solar, that we don't have to do something that's going to pollute the air, and that you're doing with water, because there's so much going on with water. And in Florida, I think a lot of the water, unfortunately, has been affected by the fertilizers. And so I wanted to ask you a question, because one of the other things you alluded to, and especially since you're an engineer and you're looking for things to innovate and whatever, I see that also that you've implemented Scientology in your life. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. I wouldn't be where I am today. I sincerely, believe that if it were not for Scientology and what I learned when I got out of the Air Force in 1970, I met this young man who was selling Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, and I bought a book from him in the street, and ever since then my life changed. I was actually on a path which was not a good path. I was in 1970, after having spent 4 years, which was during the Vietnam era, in the Air Force. I came out of the Air Force and I was experimenting with marijuana and other drugs and everything, and I was on the bad path, and I credited to Scientology and what I learned from L. Ron Hubbard that I got myself on the straight and narrow, and made of myself the success, if I'm to be looked at as a successful individual. And I guess I am. I took one of my companies public, and I'm in the process of working on taking New Energy also to become a public corporation within the next couple of months. This is as a result of actually the priceless data that I've learned from Scientology. I'm a Scientologist.
Very good. Well, let me ask you a question. If the viewers probably would want something or some example. can you give a basic example of something that you utilize in your life that they could look at and they can go online and research more?
Well, certainly, every day when you wake up in the morning and you look at the sun, that's what I utilize. I use our sun, for basically taking the God-given, thing that we have there, not only the light, but the heat from that light to produce other forms of energy in order to enhance our survival. So that's one thing. But the other thing that we need even more than the heat, is we can cover ourselves and stuff and survive even, in places that are cold. But we can't survive more than about 3 days without water. And you mentioned water. That's why we focus so much on water. 3 days without water in the human body will perish. We die. Regrettably, because of this need for water, what happens is that children, especially when they're under 5 years of age, will drink water, even if it's contaminated, which happened in Haiti in 2010 after the terrible, hurricane that we had there in 2010.
Right.
A lot of the children would drink that contaminated water, and
Exactly.
they got they got sick. They got viral infections in their intestines, and a child doesn't have, when he's less than 5 years of age, does not have the antibodies to fight that off. 2 or 3 days after having diarrhea and vomiting like that and high fevers, they're dead. And we lost over 250,000 children between 2010 and 2012. The minister of Haiti, one of his consultants read one of my papers and they sent for me, and I spent some time in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince, looking at what we could do in order to produce potable water. We were going to be utilizing funds from the Clinton Initiative, which you may recall. President Clinton was involved in raising funds to help, Haiti come back from the terrible devastation of that hurricane. Regrettably, without throwing anyone under the bus, most of the money from that Clinton Initiative disappeared, and the funds weren't there, to actually construct what we needed to construct in order to produce the potable water. Now,
Right. Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question,
ahead.
Doctor. So we're running out of time on the show, but also I want to ask you, because you said that the Scientology made such an impact in your life. In about 30 seconds, what basic thought or concluding remark would you like to give the viewers on how they could use that also to help them in their life?
Well, whatever problem the individual, any individual may be having in life, I feel that we have quite a number of works, of books that L. Ron Hubbard wrote. And by reaching out, calling a mission or calling a Scientologist, reaching out, they'll get the information that they need to have in order to get the solution, stop the problem, because that's what it does. It's basically a solution to the problem, instead of making the problem worse.
Well, you know what, hey, Dr. Guevara, I'm sorry to have to cut this show off because you have it's a wealth of information between the energy innovations that you have, the cities that you're building and renewing, the technology and the philosophy that you've talked about. I want to thank you for coming on the show. We'll have to have you back again. And for those of you out in the audience, hopefully, this will help you and give you ways of solving your own problems and having a more productive life and achieving your goals. So from your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and Dr. Guevara, our guests for today, we wish you a good day, And from A Time for Truth, we will see you at our next show.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet